Dan Patrick, one of the greatest broadcasters. He's in the Broadcasting Hall of Fame, I guarantee that.
Oh, he should
And
be.
he's about to be in the Author Hall of Fame for the occasionally accurate annals of football. The NFL's greatest players, plays, scandals, and screw-ups. He has got a new football book coming out. How timely, just in time for football season. And I believe the great Dan Patrick joins us now. Dan, you there? Oh, look at him.
Yay.
Thanks for coming on,
Yay.
man. I love the shirt.
Thank you.
Where do I
don't
get
know.
one of those?
Well, we ran into some trouble, so we had to stop making them, as you might guess. Just saying, let's move on from that topic here, Chris.
I understand. All right. Another book. Now, before I get into this book, I will say, I believe the last time I had you on, I told you that when I was young, I had the Patrick Olbermann book, The Big Show, which now you can like sell on eBay for like hundreds of dollars because they don't even like exist anymore, right? So now another book. Are you just going to put together a whole catalog? And is this how many books is this now? Is this the first one since The Big Show?
Yeah, I didn't want to write a book. People have asked me, hey, would you look back on your career and write a book? And I go, no, I'm not interested in that. But Joel Cohen writes for The Simpsons, and he got a hold of me and he said, look, I'm interested in writing you into an episode of The Simpsons. And I said, all right, awesome. I said, do I have to play myself? And he said, no. And I said, that's even better. And so the more we started talking, and we were just talking about football topics, and then we got to the point where I just said, well, I have a bunch of ideas over here. If you have a bunch of ideas there, I said, why don't we just go into our caves and then come back out and see if we can make something of this? And he said, I have some friends, Andy Richter from Conan, his sidekick. He'd love to do something. And then it just became sort of a collaboration and just have fun, throw out things. It's meant to be lighthearted. We tackle some topics, but I don't know if we tackle them in a way that anybody's going to get a concussion.
Now, were you already friends with him, or did you meet him through him wanting to write you into The Simpsons?
I met him through wanting to write me into The Simpsons.
What's the episode? What's the episode?
It's the championship rock skipping contest that Homer's involved in. That's as much as I can say. No, it hadn't come out yet.
Oh, it hasn't?
No. Hadn't come out yet.
Oh, there's going to be an episode.
Yes.
Are you calling it with anyone else, or is it just you?
I can't even. I'm a member of the Screen Actors Guild. I don't even think I'm allowed to talk about that.
Oh, wow.
Yes. But that's how we met. It feels like I'm not allowed to reveal a lot with this conversation, Chris, and I apologize. Hey, I can't talk about my shirt, and I can't talk about the Simpsons episode. I can talk about the book, and that's it.
Okay. So with the book, the guy from The Simpsons comes in. He says he's the guy that convinces you. And what is he pitching you at first when you're trying to put together this book? What does he want it to be?
He wasn't pitching it.
He was.
No, it was more of a. He had a couple of questions. We were just kind of idle conversation. He goes, what do you think about, and then he would throw out a topic, and then I would say something back, and I'd say, well, what do you think about this? And it became back and forth where we touched on the Whizzinator. We we touched on butt fumble. We touched on the Immaculate Reception, Tom Brady, how to fix penalties. So it just became sort of a tennis match back and forth. We just volleyed these topics. And he's an extremely bright guy. Very, very, very clever. And I was just trying to hold my own, where he's hitting winners, and then I'm trying to just get him back.
Right.
And, he came back. He came down to my level, and then we finally were able to throw some things together. And it's fun. I just did the audio version of that.
Oh,
what
nice.
a pain in the ass that is. Oh, my God. That is, it's a couple hundred pages. And then, I do a 3-hour show, and then they go, hey, can you do the audio version? And it took me like 6 days to do it.
What?
But, yeah, because I couldn't do it all in one day. There's a lot there. And you got to do it a couple of times. You got to make sure it's great. Are you pronouncing everything correctly? I wanted to have enthusiasm throughout the whole thing, but we got it done.
Well,
And
at least it's got your name on it, right? Because it's like a Dan Patrick book. Whereas I can imagine over the years, what is the thing that you have gotten asked to use your voice for or do a voiceover for that was outside of the audio book, where you were either you didn't want to do it and you ended up doing it, or something that I would not believe has Dan Patrick's voice in it? Have you ever used your voice, like had to go into a recording studio that someone either offered you money to do it or asked you to record something for?
Well, people ask me to record their voice message. Hi, this is Dan Patrick. Jerry's not here. Leave a message, and I'm sure he'll get back to you. And so I've done that before a few times, but I don't. I used to voice over the NBA entertainment videos. I got a chance to do that, which was a lot of fun. You do like the season-ending video for the Atlanta Hawks, and so I was the voice of that. Did a lot of those things, but for the most part, nothing too strange. I mean, nothing against my will.
And this is now when you have to go to the audio book. When you read the book back and it's already done as an audio version, do you find yourself wanting to change things?
No. You can't do that, because when I did SportsCenter, and I would get done with the show, and I would grab the tape right after, immediate, and I would go upstairs and I would watch the entire SportsCenter, and I would look for mistakes, and I was driving myself crazy because I was looking for what I did wrong instead of what I did right, and I learned it took me a while, but I learned you're going to have imperfections. It's really about how you embrace them. And I'll acknowledge that to the crowd or, our audience. I'll just say, you know what, my bad. I made a mistake on that. Instead of trying to blow by it, or you made a mistake, but you don't want to acknowledge it, it's okay. Yeah. But focus on the positives instead of, gosh, I don't know if you've started a monologue. You start your show, you're like 2 sentences in and you screw up and you're like, that's going to ruin the show. That's the way it used to be for me. I was such a perfectionist, and you can't be a perfectionist in this business.
No, and you know what's crazy is I was telling, as we first came on, I was telling a story. We did a big draft thing for the Grizzlies a couple of weeks ago, and a guy came up to me, lives in Arkansas, and is talking about how he listens to the show and he's super excited or whatever, and he just decided, I don't want to do what I've been doing and I want to get involved in broadcasting. And he was asking me different things about broadcasting and kind of my career, and then he said, I've enrolled in the Dan Patrick Media School. He's like, and I'm going through the courses right now, and he's like, and I'm super shy. And he's like, and so it's helping me kind of get out of my shell. And I was like, I'll be damned. Look at this. Here's a guy we were in West Memphis, Arkansas. The guy came up, and it was just a guy who's like, you know what? I'm tired of my day job. I want to chase my dream. And I wanted to tell you that because I thought that was super special. This is a guy that's probably in his late 20s, been out of college, doesn't really know what he wants to do for the rest of his life, but decided it's not what I'm doing now. And so he just took the leap and decided, I'm going to do this. And I wanted to ask you about that media school, because that was one of our listeners that asked me about it. And I was like, man, I can't imagine how many kids have this same exact story, or even adults have this same story of getting involved. That's actually really become a big thing for you, huh?
Yeah, we started with 5 students, and this was our first class was, I think, 4 years ago, maybe coming up on 5. I had 5 students. All 5 graduated. All 5 got jobs in the business. And then that's all you want to do is have a successful track record. We want to get you a job. Colleges now just will get you through so you graduate. Well, that's when it really starts in this business. I got to get you a job. And that's what I tell their parents. Whenever we do, behind-the-scenes tour of the Dan Patrick School of Broadcasting, I go to the parents and say, you have my word. We will do the best that we can to make sure your son or daughter has a job. And then subsequently, we don't cut the umbilical cord. We want to help you with the next job because then you'll pay it back and tell us, and then maybe we have another graduate who gets that opportunity. So we started with 5. I think we're up to around 370 students now.
Wow.
But it's been rewarding because I have people who have done this. There's no faculty in America that has more experience than us, starting with me, because there's nobody like me who's doing this. And then the guy who's leading the charge on the ground, Gus Ramsey, worked at ESPN for over 20 years. He was a coordinating producer. And so we have people that we worked with at ESPN and Fox and some other places. We're teaching you hands-on. We're giving you hands-on experience. You need to do this for a live shot. You need to do this. You need to write like this. You need broadcasting, enunciating, all of these things. How to put on makeup. We want to teach you everything. But if I'm 26 or 27 or 28 years of age, I got one chance. Because then I'm going to have to get a job and go into real life. And we tell them, not everybody's meant to be on the air, but everybody can be in the business. You have to understand if you're good enough, and if not, can you direct? Can you produce? Can you run a camera? Can you do sound? Can you do graphics? There's a lot of different things that you could have sports in your life as a job the rest of your life. And we're honest with them from the beginning. We put you on camera the first day you're on campus. But it's the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my life because you are changing lives. You're giving somebody an opportunity to do this.
How have you been able to keep up with how much media has changed from the time that you were in it to even now?
I don't know if I'm trying to keep up with it.
But
as
you've
much
evolved as things have happened. You have evolved, and in fact, been a trailblazer. I mean, there's no question, Dan, that like I look around even in our studio, it's me and 2 of my best friends now, right? And you had a crew with you, and it's like, okay, this is how you create chemistry. This is what's going to lead to the best work. People that you want to see every day, people that you're excited to be around. And then I look and I see all the other shows. You know, you see what Le Batard's pulled off with his guys and et cetera all over. And you know, when you broke away, there was a huge risk at that moment for you.
Yeah, it was 17 years ago but I'd gotten to the point where I wasn't getting any better. And I wanted to go home because I had 4 kids, and I thought, you know what? I've been selfish enough. Now it's time to go home. And I thought, okay, I can do a radio show. And I was doing it out of my attic for 3 years. So I left ESPN. And I'm in my attic doing my radio show. And the Danettes came over. And it's the best thing that ever happened because we bonded together that we were just a little group of guys trying to do a show nationally. I started out with 12 radio stations. Now we're up to 400. But they had to buy in. And, you know, when people talk about chemistry, you can try to create it. It either happens or it doesn't. It's not like, come on, guys, let's create chemistry. You either get along, you either understand, you either sacrifice, or you don't. And they did. And so keeping up, I wasn't afraid to disappear in people's eyes because they're like, where can I find you? Mm-hmm. You left TV and now you're streaming on Peacock? And I go, yeah. But I knew that this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to be my own boss. I have 13 cameras in here. I have a basketball court, part of a football field, a golf simulator. I've got 2 bars in here. I got pinball machine. These are all the things that I wanted. So when you're watching us, even though we're not talking to the camera. You're watching what happens during a commercial break, during a radio show. And to give the visual element, and now everybody's doing it, but, you know, that wasn't the point. Like, I'm going to be a trendsetter. I knew what I wanted before anybody else was going to do this. And, you know, that's why, I mean, nobody can replicate this man cave that I have. It can't be done, won't be done. But we're lucky that, you know, I was able to do it, pull it off. It took a long time. And I have, you know, guys who've been with me a long, long time. And they bought in.
Has your advice changed dramatically to people that ask you about, I want to be Dan Patrick? You know what I mean? You meet the...
Well, I say you don't want to be me. You don't want to be me. That's not the approach you have. Be you. Now, that doesn't mean you can't borrow, because we all borrow. Some steal, but some borrow, some sample, and just say, I want to put that element in, or that element in, or I wonder if I could do that, or I could do it in my own interpretation. But I don't pattern myself after one sportscaster and go, that's the guy I'm trying to be. I think I tried to be Bob Costas when I was, at SportsCenter. But then I realized I'm not Bob, and I don't want to be Bob. Bob is great at who he is. I'm not great at being Bob. And I kept trying to, people say, just be yourself. I don't know what that means. Like, be yourself. I don't know who I am. I'm 67. I still don't know who I am. Like, what? I don't. I've asked my wife, I said, who am I? And she goes, what's wrong with you? I go, I don't know. I'm told to be myself. And I go, I don't know who I am.
Well, maybe less like you as a broadcaster, more of what you have. Maybe that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm saying like somebody that sits there and go, I would love to have a show like you have one day. And once upon a time, it was everybody that came up to you and said, like, I would love to be on SportsCenter. I'd love to be a SportsCenter anchor. And, like, It's just, I can imagine that nowadays, whatever advice you would have given a kid that really wants to be a broadcaster has changed dramatically to maybe the advice that you would give them now.
Well, I would tell them, if having a catchphrase doesn't make you a good sportscaster, because a lot of people thought, and look, you can credit us and you can blame us, that Oberman and I changed sportscasting because we said you can have fun, you can be smart, you can be sneaky, you can have catchphrases, you can make fun of yourself, you can make fun of others, but do it in a way that you're not taking away. If people want to watch highlights or get a story, they can get the story. Don't become the story. And make sure you can write. If you can write, that's so important in this business, that ability. How do you sound? How do you look? Are you comfortable? Can you stand up and give me 5 minutes of, the Patriots wide receiving core right now? Mm-hmm. Like, these are the things sometimes where it's live, and these are live bullets. When you're handing out the Super Bowl trophy and there's 110 million people there, don't screw it up. Or you're hosting the Olympics, don't screw it up. Those are the things where you don't think you'll ever be in those moments. I came from a really small town in Ohio, and I never thought I'd be handing out the Super Bowl trophy or doing the Olympics or, in the Broadcasting Hall of Fame. But I never stopped doubting myself. And that's why I say a lot of people will jump off the train because they're like, I'm 29, I want to start a family. And I never did it for the money, ever. Never made it. I've made bad decisions because I didn't take the money. But in my mind, I was loyal to ESPN. Be loyal, go to a place that you think is solid, that you can grow, that people will help you there. It's a tough, tough, tough business. I don't think there's a more competitive job field in America than being a sportscaster, because everybody, I'm sure you hear this all the time. Oh, I could do what you do. All you do is talk into a microphone, which is true, but try it for more than 20 minutes and then tell me how you're doing after that.
Can you come over to my house later today?
Yeah, but it is tough. It's challenging.
I need you to explain this.
But I tell the students and trying to evolve with understanding what is changed. What do I need to do? I think the biggest thing is being relevant and understanding what a 25-year-old or a 35-year-old would be interested in. Mm-hmm. And I have 4 kids who are 25 through 32. I'm constantly asking, what are you watching? What are you listening to? And therefore, you're not the get off my lawn guy. Sometimes that happens. But for the most part, it is understanding what it's like for these younger athletes now, or name, image, and likeness, what it's like to coach these kids now. So there's so many things that go into it, where it used to be just pretty much right down the middle, just do sports. Now there's a lot more attached to it.
How do you view the video stuff and social media especially? Because that is how so many of the younger generation is building up their brands. My son is 13, and so I monitor and see what he's watching. And Dan, there are people that are infinitely more famous than any of us will ever be to that age group that I have no idea who they are. But then I see, I see him watching, and then I click on it, and there's 15 million people subscribed to someone I've never even seen before, but they've built up this brand totally independently. No ESPN, no NBC, nobody. They've done it on their own, and they've done it through these social media channels. How do you view that?
Well, I understand it. I don't always understand TikTok, but somebody will say, "Hey, look at this," and then I always think, "Okay, how could I incorporate that in my show, or what should we be doing, or what could we be doing?" And we have younger guys here who take care of social media.
Yeah.
So we produce the content. Then it's up to them to get it out to the right places. It's a cottage industry that you have to have. You have to have that cranking out every single day, a couple times a day. And I have a couple of guys who are in their late 20s who help every single day with that.
Do you keep up with social media at all?
I'm aware of it. I think sometimes you got to turn things off, and because there's so much out there, and I'm a voracious reader and love just to consume everything I can. And even it could be about Lizzo in the way she's treating her backup dancers. It could be somebody's TikTok dance video. It's understanding that it's out there. But there are times when I go, all right, enough. I got to shut it off here and watch Maine Cabin Masters or, something like that. Now you have to escape, because I couldn't escape for a long time. I thought I got to watch everything.
Yeah.
Because I'm on SportsCenter. I'm supposed to know everything, and you can't. I'd be watching tennis matches or Division III football or whatever it is. I just felt like I needed to know a little bit about a lot and a lot about a little.
Yeah. He is Dan Patrick. The name of the book is The Occasionally Accurate Annals of Football. It's going to be available at all of the booksellers as well as Amazon.com. The NFL's greatest players, plays, scandals, and screw-ups, plus stuff that was totally made up. What is your favorite part of the book?
Oh, I have too many of them. There were just ones where you're just laughing.
What made you laugh the most? The conversation that made you laugh the most?
There's a chapter about being a Vikings fan, and it made me laugh out loud, just trying to understand a Viking fan and what they go through, what they've gone through, and they've lost, and Bud Grant, and just there were a lot of things in there. There's a lot of layers to it where you just, we do it, and then I did the audio, and then I had a hard time getting through some of the pages just because it's so silly. We did Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake with Nipplegate.
Yep.
I mean, we hit the hard stories here, as you might expect.
The butt
there.
Fumble, Nipplegate. The thing I love about
the
this
Whizzinator.
You could just flip it open and read it any part.
Yes,
that's the best part about it.
And every fan, there's something for your team and some of your favorite players. And Adam Sandler wrote the foreword, and so it's meant to be fun. It's not Bill Simmons, the history of the NBA. It's just meant to be fun. Breeze through it, buy it for dad or for yourself, and have a few laughs.
All right, last thing, college. We're gonna have a bunch of college football games coming up. We're a week and a half away from the NFL starting.
What's your studio look like now compared to when I was there?
Oh my God, different world.
Was that? Yeah, like 10 years ago.
Can you see us on camera or no?
There you go. Yeah.
And that's a FedEx Forum behind us, and then we've got Beale Street on the other side.
Were you in that same location?
Hell no. The place you came was rat infested.
Well, okay.
So
that looks very shiny.
We got beer taps. We got beer taps.
beer taps. We got beer taps, too.
I'm hopefully we can get it expanded so I can get like a basketball goal and some other stuff. Beer taps.
But do
what
you
we got so
have
far.
beer? Do you have beer on
No.
tap, or do you have beer tap? Oh, okay.
But we have the taps in case it can be hooked up theoretically.
Okay.
I
just want to make sure. You got a lot of talent. I just want to make sure that you're cashing in on all that talent. And
You know what? I started. I started off the show today, and I said you gave me one of the best pieces of advice of anyone along the way. I had gone up to ESPN after we had started that station so many years ago, and I went up there and they pulled me in this room and they started talking to me about weekends, and maybe like some night things, whatever. But they wanted me to do weekends, and you had come in town for an event here in Memphis, and you were in the studio. And I talked to you about it, and you said, do not do weekends. I said, okay. I don't know if you even remember saying this. He said, don't do weekends. And I was like, all right. They will never think of you as anything other than a weekend guy if you do it.
that's true. Yeah.
And I didn't
Because
do it. And you know what? I do think it had a profound impact on me because I would have jumped at that just to say I was on ESPN, and I think it would have hurt me, no question, that it would have. And all these years later, still to this day, you can flip on ESPN radio and you hear the same dudes on weekends and the same people on nights, and they never get moved up to anything. You know what I mean? It's almost like it would have devalued. Look, everybody's got their own thing, but I do think that at that time, I just was so flattered that they would even possibly put me on that I was ready to go do it, and you were like, "Don't do that."
No. But I knew you had the talent to have your own, carry your own show.
Yeah.
And they won't let you carry your own show at ESPN on the weekends. It's almost like you're a middle reliever.
That's right.
Like you're just eating up innings there, and they don't let you really kind of explore who you are and what you want to be and what you want to do. Yeah. But you had a voice, you had an opinion, you were quick, and then I thought you're going to go there and you're going to be like, man, I'm trapped here. It's like you're going to be underwater during doing a show. And there's certain people that they would love doing that, and I agree. If I was younger and I had a chance, like ESPN's interested in me,
I know.
Hell yes. And then all of a sudden you realize I got confidence in myself. Right. Or if I do, then don't do that. Wait until they say we want to bring you up Monday through Friday. Now we can have a conversation. But being there on the weekend, I always felt like that wasn't allowing people to be themselves. Yeah. ESPN was still the star.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, and I still have people saying, "Hey, I watch you on SportsCenter." I go, "Thank you." I mean, I haven't been there in 17 years, but thanks. But because I was allowed in your bedroom or your living room or your man cave for, I did 18 years. I did over 2,000 shows. I was there. I had women who say, I used to go to bed, my husband would have the TV on and I would hear your voice. And it's true. I mean, I'm very fortunate that we worked at 11 o'clock at night and we were kind of the last thing you did before. Well, I don't know if it's the last thing you did before you went to bed, but it was one of the last things maybe you did before you went to bed, and you got to watch us on sports.
It's still flattering when anybody says stuff like that, right? Still to this day, our guys we'll walk out of the studio. Somebody will find us and they'll say, "I listen to you on the radio every day," and I want to say, "Where? I haven't been on the radio in 7 years." But they think they do. Or maybe this is what they're calling the radio now. I don't.
And that's another thing that
right? It's all changed.
The podcast world,
That's
and then it's kind of being reset. The podcast world exploded, and now it's kind of there's a reset going on. And I wonder what is the next incarnation of this business. But that's why if you get something and you got a great partner and they leave you alone, then that's heaven. Because if you chase money, you never stop chasing money.
That's right.
You never say, I got enough. Yep. You'll go, I got to go. Because people would say, well, that guy, why don't you make what he makes? And I go, I don't know. Like it didn't, I was doing what I wanted to do.
Right.
I didn't, I wasn't doing it and then saying, well, I'll do it, but I want more money. I want to do it because I love doing it. I got to do sports 5 nights a week, live, an hour on national TV.
Yep.
What am I complaining about?
Right.
You know? And that's where find your happiness. And I don't mean to be a mentor or give you a tutorial. You've done well on your own, but be happy. Find whatever happiness, whatever your definition is, and then hold on to it for dear life. Because when it leaves, you'll look back and go, God, man, we had that was awesome. Yeah. And that's why I signed up for 4 more years. I don't want to leave this. I love it.
I was watching, and then it turned into Dan Patrick announces his retirement.
I screwed it up, Chris. I
was like, oh, Lord.
I screwed up my retirement speech because I'm like, yep, I'm going to retire in 4 years. I failed to mention I just signed a 4-year contract extension, and then that would be my last contract. Next thing I know, my wife is texting me, somebody just stopped me and said you're retiring. And I go, in 4 years. And she goes, huh? I go, never mind. I'll talk to you when I get home. I totally screwed it up. It's just like, oh, my God. But, yeah, once it's done, it's done. And then,
It did not say Dan Patrick signs contract extension. It was Dan Patrick announces retirement.
Well, this gives people 4 years to buy me some neat shit, Chris. That's what I want. Like you can't say, man, your retirement's snuck up on me.
That's right.
No, now you know. I could get a rocking chair or motorcycle. Just I hope people are taking some great thought to get me something nice.
You won't walk away.
Yes, I will.
No, you won't.
Yes, I will. I promised my wife that I would.
Really?
Yep. I'll still do my broadcast school. I'll still do Sandler movies. There might be some other ancillary things there, but the day-to-day. And I also wanted to be fair to the Danettes. I wanted to let them know that you got 4 years, get your resume together and whatever you guys want to do. But it'll be 21, almost 22 years by the time I'm done since I left ESPN.
Wow.
I mean, I've been in the business 40 years. So it's a young man's game. And that's part of the reason why I left SportsCenter. I wasn't getting any better, and I thought, why am I sitting in the chair when somebody younger can do this as well, if not better, and deserves that shot? And I remember when I went home, and I sat on my front porch and I go, what did I just do? Like, did I make the biggest mistake of my life? And my wife said, we'll sell the house. Like, she had the perspective. I didn't. I'm like, I'm worried about my ego. And she's like, she's saying, no, you made the right decision. And then I said, all right, hon, I'm going to need you to keep repeating that a couple of times over the next 15 years.
Yeah,
but do it for the right reasons, not for the reasons that people are going to tell you. Go for the money, all of those things, because you could play in a bit different market, a bigger market. Yeah. You're talented, but that's fine. Yeah. You got your boys there. You have fun. You laugh. You get to do this every single day, and when it's done, you hope you leave it and you go, you know what, we kicked ass.
Yeah. That's for sure.
That's what this is about. Be great for as long as you can be great.
The Occasionally Accurate Annals of Football. Everybody go buy this book. It's the great.
At least
Dan
you
Patrick
didn't say the occasionally annals. Yeah, that was a problem when we were doing the book title. I said, I think annals is probably going to be used more than annals. So just throwing that out there. But hey, thank you for having me on.
Oh, you're
and
the best.
happy for you.
Thank you, Dan.
Continued success, buddy.
Appreciate you,
Dan. All right.
Patrick.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, man. Dan Patrick, go buy the book. I think it's pretty easy to see why he's always been one of my favorite dudes.
He dropped